I truly don't see how I could ever go back to working a regular 9 to 5 job. After tasting the freedom that I have as a travel physical therapist and having so much control over where and when I work, forcing myself to going back to doing the exact same thing 9 to 5 Monday through Friday just sounds impossible. So, like I just said, and for those of you that are new to the channel, my career is I'm a travel physical therapist, and that involves me taking contracts to help out in clinics or facilities that need additional help, that need additional hands. And that means I up and I move to different places every 3 to 6 months. And essentially, that means I pretty much get to work on my own terms. I pick and choose where and when I want to work a lot of the times, and I change scenery, locations, cities pretty regularly. And through doing this, I've been able to give myself a very comfortable and very independent lifestyle. But it'll be 5 years since I started doing this job, and it wasn't always like this. So after graduating, I moved back to where I'm from originally in South Carolina, and I got my first job. And originally, I thought the whole 9 to 5 life was going to be just fine for me, forever. I was going to do my job for a while, maybe eventually work my way up to a manager position, maybe step away from some of the clinic patient care load and take on more leadership experience and just climb that corporate ladder. And for a while, that's exactly what I just foresaw for myself, and I was perfectly happy with that. And it was just a very traditional way of thinking about how I originally wanted my career to go. I was going to take a job, work that good job, work in that field until I retire, and with that, I get all the benefits like paid vacation and, PTO, benefits, retirement plans, just all the things that you think about when you think about the security of having just a regular job. But over my first year and a half of working, I just found myself slowly starting to dislike just working that way in general. I thought that waking up Monday through Friday and going to do the exact same job every day was boring, and it didn't take long for that to kick in at all. I hated the thought of PTO, of just accruing this time off so slowly and having to ask permission to even use it, having to ask permission just to take time for myself, just to take trips, just to go on vacation to unwind after working so hard in the clinic. And because of, how I was working, it felt like I couldn't really squeeze in the life that I wanted. I feel like a lot of my time was dedicated to work, which I'm more than happy to do because I love what I do. But at the end of the day, at the end of the week, I was just so tired. I just felt like I couldn't explore or do the things, the hobbies, the fun stuff that I just wanted to do for myself. And the worst part was it felt like the job that I had worked so hard to get, the career that I had spent 7 years slaving over, just trying to get to, it felt like I wasn't being appreciative of that job. And again, I love my career, I love what I do, but because I just wasn't doing it on my own terms, I just grew to dislike it, and I grew to dislike it very quickly. And these thoughts just kept jumping around in my head, and the feelings got stronger, and after a while I knew I had to make a change, and that's when I jumped into the travel therapy world that I do now, and life has been so much better since then. The biggest reason why I feel so much more satisfied and much more happy is just the freedom. My work-life balance is so much better. I have the time to do and explore things that I want to do while still having the necessary time to study and meet up with my patients and treat patients and help them getting back to doing the things that they love. But because I take contracts, I have time off between these jobs, and I can take off as much or as little time as I want between my jobs. And with that time, I can rest, I can reset, I can do the things I want to, I can see friends and family, and I can come back into the clinic, I can come back into these facilities, and I can feel refreshed and recharged. And the ability to choose where and when I work is just so powerful. It's so helpful for me to feel refreshed and not so burnt out like I was before. Even when I was in school, I always had this urge to just travel and be in different places. And with this career, this job that I'm working now, I have that. And plus, I have better financial security. I was perfectly fine in my original job when I was back in South Carolina, but now I have a little bit more financial security. And nowadays, that's a very important thing to have. And after working and doing this travel thing and just being able to move and go on my own terms for 3 years now, I just feel like I can't go back to how it was before. I truly don't see how I can go back to working a regular 9 to 5 and being satisfied with that. I just feel like a completely different person than I was 3 years ago, and I'm very happy and proud of this life I've been able to build for myself. And it feels like if I give it up, it feels like I just will go back to being this burnt out, kind of sort of unhappy person that I was before. And plus, I just don't want to go back to doing regular things. Like, I don't want to accrue PTO slowly. I don't want to request time off. I don't want to have to ask for permission to take trips and go on vacation and just take time away to unwind and compose myself. And I also just don't want to go back to feeling like I'm in a rat race. I don't want to go back to the feeling of doing the same thing over and over again, Monday through Friday, and feeling like I'm just stagnant or not really doing anything special in life. Essentially, I just want to live life the way I want to live life, at least most of the time while I have control over it. And I don't really know how I can do that if I go back to how I was working and living before. And I really don't think that this is an uncommon thing in people near or around my age, millennials in like their late 20s, early, mid, late 30s. I feel like a lot of us are going through the exact same things when it comes to working these jobs, because burnout is definitely a real thing, not just in the medical field, but I'm sure in any field where you feel like you're giving a lot of yourself to a job every single day, every single week. When you get home, you feel like there's just nothing left for yourself. And you have to do that same thing over and over again because you want to do a good job. And what else can you do? And I also feel like a lot of us have these feelings of just being or feeling stuck in one place, feeling like you just don't really have an option and you just kind of have to stay where you are for the fact of job security and job stability. Especially nowadays, there are a lot of people getting laid off. There are a lot of people getting furloughed and fired from their jobs. And it's work. It's a necessary evil. We have to work. We have to make money. We have to live and eat and pay bills. And so I get it. And I feel like a lot of us just don't have the opportunity or the ability to just bounce around and move like we would essentially want to. And I also feel like that goes back to what I was saying earlier about just not having time for yourself after work. When you feel burnt out and after you give so much of yourself to these jobs, you have no time to explore the things that you want to do. You have no time to explore your interests. You have no time to pick up hobbies and do the things that you want to do for fun or to unwind. And when everything that you do is focused on work, that's definitely just going to burn you out so quickly. And these are the things that I consider when it comes to me thinking about my job and how I'm happy now, but knowing that I can't do this forever. I know that I'm not going to want to travel forever, and I know eventually I'm going to want to settle in one place and put down some roots, have a family if it's meant for me. I definitely understand that's going to need to happen one day. But for right now, I just don't see it. I just don't see it for me. I love what I do and I want to do it for a long time. But I also know I have to start thinking about the future and what I want that to look like. Like I said, planting roots and doing my own thing and starting a family, it sounds great. And when I finally do that, I want to have a level of financial security and financial freedom that I just don't have right now. And so I'm continuing to work on that on my own terms so I can eventually have that one day. And with going along with this whole thing of not wanting to work for someone else my whole life, not wanting to work a 9 to 5 my whole life, I never really thought of myself as taking the entrepreneur route because I used to think, especially in school, that it's too much work and I'm lazy and I never want to do that. I never want to try to have my own business. I never want to try to work for myself. Let me just get a good job, work that job forever, retire, be satisfied with that. And again, I feel like this is something that a lot of people my age or around my age are beginning to consider and beginning to learn, whether you're in healthcare or tech or finance or whatever, just this kind of growing epiphany or growing realization that working for someone else or working for some company isn't the only option to have a good life, that you can build something on your own terms and build a life that you want from that. And honestly, I'm not even 100% sure of what that looks like for me. But again, I came to the conclusion a while ago that to live the life that I want on my own terms, I'm going to have to step out and build something of my own in some capacity to be able to be happy in the long term. Again, I have ideas, I have outlines of the things that I want to do, but I really don't know. I really don't have a good concrete idea yet, but I'm getting there. Again, I have ideas and we're going to get there one day. But I know that I can use the knowledge and the skills that I've built through working and through school to be able to build something for myself that will allow me to have that life that I really truly want one day. Again, still brainstorming every single day. I have a lot of notebooks with rough notes and I have a lot of rough ideas in the notes app on my phone. But who knows? Maybe this YouTube thing will work out one day and making videos on here will help me achieve some of these goals that I have. But other than that, if you watch all the way to the end, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And tell me about you. Tell me about your job and what you do. Do you work a 9 to 5? Are you a full-time content creator? Do you have your own business? Do you do a mix of 2 or 3 of all of those? Let me know down below. Also, if you're a somewhat new content creator or a new YouTuber like me, I made a video that a lot of people seem to be resonating with talking about my first year on YouTube, and I'm going to put it somewhere on the screen right now. So feel free to check out that video next. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one.